Congressman Adam Schiff literally just got off the House floor, just voted for this, and he's now joining us live to talk about it. Congressman Schiff, thank you. Welcome back. Good to see you. So let's break down for the average person out there who's really been hurting for a long time and needed more government help. What exactly are they going to get out of this?
Well, individuals will get a $600 stimulus check, so up to $2,400 for a family of four. People who are unemployed will get extended unemployment compensation. They'll get a $300 additional benefit. And with a provision that I worked on that was included, those that have mixed sources of income, that is, they have W-2 and 1099 income, they'll get additional $100 a week to try to make them whole. We'll also have assistance for renters. We'll have money to beef up vaccines and testing. There's money for schools. What's left out is money for states and cities.
Right. And we're looking at $325 billion for small businesses as well. All right. So when individuals see that number, $600, most people are grateful probably to get the money, but most people say, are you kidding me? After all these months, $600, what is that going to get me, especially in Southern California? The mayor of Los Angeles saying that's not enough money. What do you say to people who say that's not even anywhere close to enough money?
I agree. I would say call Mitch McConnell and Senate Republicans, because on the Democratic side of the aisle, we wanted the stimulus checks to be double that amount. We want the federal unemployment compensation to be double that amount. We wanted to do more for small businesses through the PPP program than the $200 to $300 billion that's in this bill. And so I fully agree, but we were negotiating with someone who wanted to do nothing. That's very hard. And we wanted to get something out before the holidays, but we're undoubtedly going to have to come back at this early next year to get more help for American families.
You know, there obviously Democrats are blaming this on Mitch McConnell, but there are some that are saying that Speaker Nancy Pelosi could have done more here, that maybe she was concerned with not giving President Trump a political win a few months ago. We've waited all this time, and at the end of this, this is all we get. What do you say to critics of Speaker Nancy Pelosi who say she's supposed to be such a master legislator, and yet this is all we get?
Well, I'd say again, Speaker Pelosi supported a $3 trillion HEROES Act. Then we narrowed it down to a $2.2 trillion HEROES Act. And we had to agree to a $900 billion. And why? Because Mitch McConnell wouldn't go for those larger proposals. Because Senate Republicans are happy to spend $2.2 trillion on tax cuts for corporations and wealthy individuals, but not on help for small businesses or people who are unemployed or even for vaccines. And so it's hard to blame the Speaker and Democrats when we're arguing for more and Republicans are the ones arguing for less.
And we are looking right now at a live picture of the United States Senate. I think this is a reminder of how important those votes are in Georgia. With those two Senate seats up, it will be a reminder of that there's a huge difference between a Democratic Senate and a Republican Senate as well. Let's talk about an issue which is actually getting some bipartisan consensus, which is this massive hack that's being reported, a major cyber attack on the United States. Let's talk about some of the details there. A lot of the top ranking officials in the government blaming this on Russia. The federal officials believe Russia behind this attack. Experts say it could take months to kick out the hackers who have been accessing all sorts of U.S. government networks. In fact, officials say there aren't enough experts to identify all the agency's impact. This is a huge story. The attack reportedly began 8 months ago. The outgoing Attorney General, Bill Barr, briefly talked about the hack of the U.S. government agency, saying it certainly appears to be the Russians, but would not elaborate beyond that. Here's some of what he had to say.
From the information I have, I agree with Secretary Pompeo's assessment. It certainly appears to be the Russians, but I'm not going to discuss it beyond that.
Of course, the president has not said that yet. You are the chair of the House Intelligence Committee. You see the intelligence that most other people in this country haven't. For people that don't know much about what happened here, how did this happen? What do we need to know about what happened here? And for people that are concerned about what happened, what do you say to them?
Well, first of all, I don't often find myself in agreement with Bill Barr or Mike Pompeo, but there's no question here that the Russians are responsible. And for the president to suggest otherwise, that maybe it's China, is a tremendous disservice to the country. For one thing, it's just not true. But for another, it continues to open the door for further malicious Russian actions if the president won't stand up to Putin. This is a huge hack of department agencies, of private companies. It presents the Russians with the opportunity of stealing national security secrets, stealing trade secrets, accessing private communications of individuals within government who are making decisions about U.S. policy. It allows the Russians to essentially prepare the battlefield in terms of critical infrastructure by putting malicious code in place such that if push came to shove, they might be able to affect our power grid, or even the nuclear agency, the Energy Department, was hacked. And so it's hard to overstate the seriousness of the scope of this. And you're absolutely right, Elex. It will take months to assess the full damage, and it may be that we never know the full extent. It's also going to be really difficult to be completely sure that we've kicked the Russians out of these systems unless we burn the system to the ground.
So in some ways, this sounds like this is an act of war by the Russian government. What is a proportionate response by the U.S. and the U.S. intelligence agencies?
Well, first we'll need to see the extent of what the Russians have done. Have they gone beyond the theft of information to the destruction of either cyber infrastructure or real infrastructure? And we'll have to have a proportionate response on the basis of that. But it also ought to be a global response, not just the United States, because we were not alone in being hacked. This affected 18,000 entities all over the world, particularly in democracies. Interestingly and tellingly enough, the Russians seem to have accepted themselves from this hack, at least in terms of their government agencies. So we'll need to understand what the full extent is to decide on the right cyber or other remedy. But I think sanctions are appropriate, and I think a cyber response is appropriate.
And real quickly, how does this happen? And does President Trump's relationship with Russia, which you have investigated for 4 years, was that a contributing factor, do you think?
I think it is a contributing factor because when the Russians hacked our election in 2016, the president said, well, I don't necessarily believe our own intelligence agencies. Putin said it wasn't him. Maybe it was China. Well, that's the same thing he's doing now. And if you don't hold Russia accountable, if you're unwilling to stand up to them, they recognize weakness, and they see weakness in this president, so they feel they can walk all over us. In terms of how did the Russians do this, they're among the most capable cyber actors in the world. They managed to get into a piece of software called SolarWinds, and other vectors of entry as well, and place essentially a Trojan horse within that system, allowing them access to exfiltrate data or go back in. And as it was part of an update of SolarWinds, this private vendor software, when users got it, it looked like the real thing. And that made it very difficult to detect.
Wow. Scary stuff there. Congressman Schiff, big issues. Thank you for taking time to come and talk with us tonight. We appreciate your perspective.